Everybody please stand. Vice Mayor Bear is going to lead us in the prayer.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful day that you've given us with all this nice, beautiful rain. Lord, we pray that you bless everyone that is here and that they have safe travels home, along with this traffic that we're having coming down 11W. I pray for all the first responders in our police department and public works. And we ask all these things in your precious holy name. Amen.
Amen. Alderman Benstock, for those in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Alderman Patrick.
Here.
Alderman Cross.
Here.
Alderman Shugart.
Here.
Alderman Benstock.
Here.
Alderman Gillum.
Here.
Vice Mayor Bear.
Here.
Mayor Gibson.
Here. All right, just want to welcome everybody for coming out tonight. Should hopefully have a quick meeting here, and we'll get started with looking for a motion to approve correction the minutes of Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting dated May 22nd, 2025, monthly financial reports and department reports.
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion by Alderman Shugart.
I'll second.
Second by Vice Mayor Bear. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Visitors' comments. Do we have any visitors want to make comment tonight? Looks like no one. So we'll go ahead and move on to old business. Second reading of ordinance 25-541, retail package store licensing. And Tyler, is there a ordinance memorandum you want to read with that?
There it is. So this is second reading of the ordinance to amend the code of ordinances as it relates to retail package store licensing. This is mainly to address the voter referendum from November 5th. We have discussed this in the first reading, made some changes as far as distance and feet, and the number of packages or stores allowed to have a license. And so those have been reflected in the new ordinances before you tonight.
Entertain a motion to approve that ordinance.
I'll make a motion.
A motion by Alderman Benstock,
I'll second it.
second by Alderman Gillum. Any further discussion on that?
I have a comment, Mayor.
Go ahead.
8-302, it says application for certificate. Before any certificate as required by Tennessee Code 57-3-208 shall be signed by the mayor or by any alderman. A request in writing shall be filed with the recorder giving the following information. I think the verbiage should say signed by the mayor or BMA as a whole, not just any alderman.
Is that a motion to amend that?
A motion to amend, yes, sir.
Second.
So I have a motion to amend the wording as stated by Alderman or Vice Mayor Bear, seconded by Alderman Benstock. Can you restate that one more time? You've got it highlighted.
Yeah. Before any certificate as required by Tennessee Code 57-3-208 shall be signed by the mayor or by any alderman. A request in writing shall be filed with the recorder giving the following information. Instead of saying by any alderman, it should be said by mayor and BMA as a whole.
And, excuse me, which section is that?
8-302. It's page 2 of 5.
302.
Okay, so what you just said, it would be the mayor and all the aldermen, or the mayor or all?
The whole board,
The
and
whole
not just the alderman.
Okay.
Can I offer?
Just the application.
And this is just for the application, you're saying?
Right.
I'd
I
have to
just
look
don't
at
feel
statute,
comfortable
the
with
history.
any alderman signing off for an application.
Well, this is not an approval.
This isn't approval. This is actually just somebody wanting to apply.
Right, and I don't feel comfortable with just having any alderman having that.
Okay.
Normally I'd say unless there's something in that statute, I'd have to look at it and see that would strictly say that, and it's the tend not to limit or make it difficult to put an application in, then I'll look at the statute and see, but I have nothing wrong with your amendment. If we find out that it's something we can't do, we can always undo it.
So by the wording in his amendment, would that require 7 signatures? By the wording in his amendment, the mayor and board of mayor and aldermen, would that require 7 signatures to apply?
I think it would, yes. I think that's the intent.
Is that your intent with that?
Yes.
That's being in the form of a motion at this
And been
point.
seconded by Alderman Benstock.
If I could offer a little bit of clarification, this is, I think, stating before any certificate can be signed by anyone, the following has to be done. So it's saying before anyone on this board, mayor or alderman, can sign a certificate to be issued, they have to follow these steps. That's the way I read it. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the interpretation.
I think it is. The steps have to be there. Whoever's signing is signing saying that steps have been met, the required information has been given. But I think the Alderman Bears would like it to be mayor or the board of mayor and alderman, and that's.
That would mean that one alderman could just simply not sign, and then the document would go no further.
Well, then
Correct.
that's true. You'd have to go bring it back to the mayor or something. And then it becomes the question of, is that a denial of the permit? And you could get into certain amounts of time you have to rectify that, in order not to infringe upon the applicants. You know, you could have a messy situation regarding one person that doesn't like a particular applicant saying that they won't sign, so.
Mr. Bear, would you feel comfortable if it said the majority of the board as opposed to all? Because one person, right, what are you saying, could kibosh the thing, the whole thing?
I would be all right with majority.
It's important to remember this is not the approval process, but the application process
Right.
only.
Right.
So maybe you don't have unanimous support or whatever, but it would be no different than them bringing the application forward and getting a majority vote to be able to have the business. So I think I would probably, your friendly amendment, I think, is probably the most sensible way to approach this. So if you can restate it in a way that you would prefer to hear it, and we can make sure we get the language correct.
Instead of saying the whole BMA, just majority of the BMA would be fine.
By the majority.
So just as a point of clarity, so that would read, shall be signed by the mayor, comma, or majority of the BMA?
Yes.
Do we have any further discussion on the amendment? And so you're voting only on the amendment right now, just so everybody's clear on that. So let's do a roll call on the amendment.
Alderman Patrick,
No.
Alderman Cross,
No.
Alderman Benstock,
Yes.
Alderman Gillum,
Yep.
Vice Mayor Bear,
Yes.
Mayor Gibson.
Abstain.
Alderman Shooter.
No.
Sorry.
So motion fails
Yes.
into the tie. So now we're back on to the original ordinance as amended at the previous work session. Is there any further discussion or consideration on that ordinance? So if we can do a roll call on the ordinance, please.
Alderman Patrick,
Now what?
Remain.
the original
The
ordinance.
original
Oh,
ordinance.
yes.
Alderman Cross,
Yes.
Alderman Shugart,
Yes.
Alderman Benstock,
Yes.
Alderman Gillum,
Yep.
Vice Mayor Bear,
Yes.
Mayor Gibson.
Yes. All right, so that moves us into new business, item number A, discussion and consideration, resolution 25-653, personnel policies and procedures. And Tyler, if you go over the memorandum with that.
Sure, this is discussion and consideration of the resolution which will authorize us to adopt an updated personnel policy and procedure document with an effective date of July 1st, 2025. And this includes changes to the pay plan, holidays, vacations, and other necessary human resources updates. And these are the same changes we brought to you at the workshop. Staff recommends approval.
Do I have a motion to approve that ordinance?
I make a motion.
I have a motion by Alderman Schugert, second by Alderman Benstock. Do I have further discussion on that resolution?
I'd like to discuss it.
Go ahead.
My thing is the holidays being off.
What are you wanting to amend on that?
I got a lot of phone calls for the Juneteenth day. A lot of my people that I know tell me that they gotta work that day. They don't feel right, that they gotta work it and the town's off. That's what I've been getting from my feedback.
It's a federal holiday. Banks are closed that day.
I called bunch of cities, Kingsport, Johnson City. They don't take a day off either.
We're not out.
So,
Churchill don't take
We
it off.
also didn't
Let him-
have
let him-
Martin
let him
Luther King
finish.
off.
let him
for the longest
speak,
time.
and then you can have
And
the
there's
floor.
it's about half and half. There's Morristown takes it off, Bristol, Tennessee takes it off, but Elizabeth takes it off, but it's about half and half. And we don't have to go with all federal holidays.
So you want to make a motion to amend it?
Yes.
What's your motion?
Tyler came out with a day. Tyler, can you explain what you can tell me?
One of my suggestions when I was approached about this by Alderman Patrick was for a floating holiday at the employee's choosing. That does create some human resources issues maybe on tracking that and making sure that staffing is correct if everybody wanted to take it at the same time and certain departments being open and not fully staffed or whatever. But that's an option out there that I mentioned as an alternative, although that's one of the options out there.
Is that your motion, Alderman Patrick?
Yes.
So Alderman Patrick has made a motion to replace Juneteenth with a floating holiday. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Alderman Benstock. Any further discussion on the amendment?
The reason that we had the Juneteenth put on there, if I'm mistaken, is because of the post office having federal holidays. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And we're
Does-
trying to put everybody on the same schedule. So City Hall is open and the post office is not, and post office is open and we're not.
Correct.
That can create confusion amongst the residents.
Yes.
So we're trying to streamline that by giving the federal holidays.
Does the
Correct.
state recognize it as
State
federal
does as well. Federal and state both recognize Juneteenth as a holiday,
And county.
and county?
and the county. So,
Well, so with that also, because we're in a unique situation, the postal employees are actually town of Mount Carmel employees,
that is
correct?
correct.
Mm-hmm.
So however though, mail is not running on Juneteenth because it's a federal holiday.
Correct.
So with adopting that, you will have some employees off.
They are not allowed to work here. The
They-
postmaster will not allow
That's
them on
right.
property.
They won't allow them to work on
That
that
is
day.
correct.
So would they also be paid for that?
They're
Holiday?
part-time.
No, they're
The
part-time.
answer is
Part-time.
no, they're
Okay.
part-time.
So no, they wouldn't be paid. So that's, I agree with the idea of streamlining the holidays. But we do have a motion for the amendment. Is there any further discussion on the amendment? Let's go ahead and roll call the amendment,
Did
please.
you get a second?
I did, by Alderman Pat.
Okay. Got it.
Motion, or this vote is for the motion on the amendment. Alderman Patrick,
Yes.
Alderman Cross,
Yes.
Alderman Schugert,
No.
Alderman Benstock,
No.
Vice Mayor Bear,
No.
Alderman Gillum,
No.
Mayor Gibson.
No. Motion fails. So now we're back to the original motion of the personnel policy. Do we have any further discussion on the personnel policy? Tyler, whenever you're ready, if we can go ahead and do a roll call on that.
Alderman Patrick,
No.
Alderman Cross,
Yes.
Alderman Sugar,
Yes.
Alderman Benstock,
Yes.
Alderman Gillum, Vice Mayor Bear,
Yes.
Mayor Gibson.
Yes. Motion carries. So moving on to item number B, discussion and consideration, resolution 25-654, commitment of additional funds to the CDBG ladder truck purchase grant.
Okay, so this is a resolution brought to us by the First Tennessee Development District and the state for this fire truck grant. And this is our commitment to them that we have budgeted the correct amount of money to purchase this fire truck. We did budget it, it's already there. This is just a resolution for housekeeping matters to show that we have appropriated that money to be spent. And that's an additional $29,000, but that, like I said, that figure has already been included in the budget.
So do I hear a motion to approve that resolution?
So move.
Thank you, Alderman Benstock, a second.
I'll second that.
Second by Vice Mayor Bear. Further discussion on that? Before we vote on that, since Chief is in the room with us, what is the status of that stand count? When would we look to actually be able to see that truck in the fleet?
Once this resolution's turned in, it has 1 to 2 weeks to get final approval. So I really look for the truck to be here around middle July.
Will that be outfitted as far as ready to go minus decals and stuff?
We'll have to do the decals, we'll have to move all the equipment off the old truck to this one, and it will require, quite a bit of training, and it's a much different truck than what we currently have.
Thank you. Any further discussion on that? Roll call, please.
Alderman Patrick,
Oh, I can't hear, I'm having a hard time hearing here.
this is the vote on the CDBG grant resolution.
Okay. Yes.
Alderman Cross,
Yes.
Alderman Sugar,
Yes.
Alderman Benstock,
Yes.
Alderman Gillum, Vice Mayor Bear,
Yes.
Mayor Gibson.
Yes. Move on to item number C, discussion and consideration, Carter Valley Fire Department request for turkey shoots. And on that, I do have the chief of fire Carter Valley here. Mr. Toller, if you want to speak on that at all?
I'm really not sure what they did in the past because I wasn't there, but, right now I'm looking at trying to run it the end of September to probably right before Thanksgiving. And we understand that we're in the city and it's still set up like it was, the backstop's still there. And I think there used to be a 9 o'clock curfew, if I'm not mistaken, and we're willing to abide by that.
So basically dark during that,
Yeah, pretty
dark at that time, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is something that Carter Valley Fire Department did, as I said, this has been years ago. I remember when I was young, very young, that they did that. But Mr. Chief Toller's want to try to get that started back up and have that just basically looking for us to allow them approval to do that because they are in town limits and the noise ordinance, but this would just basically be authorizing that type of event.
I make a motion to accept it.
A motion by Alderman Sugar, second by Alderman Benstock. Do we have any further discussion?
Just out of curiosity, where's y'all's targets at?
Down behind the Ruatan, the turkey shoot building's still there. I don't know if any of y'all remember, but there's a structure built there in the little Ruatan Park by the creek. And the targets are adjacent to that building against the wood line.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Roll call?
Alderman Patrick,
Yes.
Alderman Cross,
Yes.
Alderman Sugar,
Yes.
Alderman Benstock,
Yes.
Alderman Gillum,
Yep.
Vice Mayor Bear,
Yes.
Mayor Gibson.
Yes. I wish you all good luck with that, Mr. Toller. All right, we'll move on to item number D, discussion and consideration surplus items.
So the administration is requesting consideration and approval to surplus some items. We talked about this in the workshop. I put up to 10 of the burgundy executive chairs that used to be in here for our board meetings. We're gonna keep some of those, but I'm not sure exactly the numbers, what we're gonna sell, but we would like to put those on Gov Deals. We do have a couple of interested parties already that said they wanna buy them. So we're gonna move forward with that. If you all approve of that, letting you know. And then also the walk-through metal detector that was discovered in the AC room. Try to see if we can surplus that.
I make a motion.
Have a motion by Alderman Sugar, second by Alderman Benstock. Any further discussion on the surplus items? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Move us on to item number E, discussion and consideration of K-9 drug enforcement grant.
I'm gonna make a motion, go ahead and get it.
Have a motion by Alderman Gillum. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Benstock. So the floor is open for discussion on that. Tyler, if you care to go over the memorandum on that.
Sure. Police Department is requesting the approval to pursue a K-9 enforcement grant. This would basically, the dog would be given to the town valued at approximately $10,000 to $15,000. The town will be obligated to send an officer to training, which we estimate about $5,000 cost on that. We're hoping maybe October for class on that in Texas. And then the town will be responsible for the ongoing maintenance, food, veterinary bills, those things. All of this will be coming out of the drug fund, which has a sufficient balance in it now, and it will continue to grow once the K-9 is in operation, I can assure you.
Discussion on that?
Did you get, I think you was saying at the workshop that you was waiting on numbers as far as upkeep and stuff. Did you get those numbers?
Don't have a set in stone number for maintenance and upkeep. I do know that we've talked to a couple of local partners, pet stores, things like that offer discounts. It's really hard to pinpoint, I guess, what the exact cost will be, but I think it will be fairly minimal considering the value of getting the dog through a grant.
And would we put insurance on the dog?
Yes.
And as far as training the officer and the dog, Hawkins County Sheriff's Office has Lieutenant Gallion, and I don't remember how many decades he spent training dogs and training officers. It might be easier to use him rather than send somebody out of town.
I'm not sure if their dog is a apprehension dog or a detection dog, so there's a big difference between what the dog's trained to do. The dog we're getting is a detection dog only, not an apprehension dog.
And as part of the grant, we have to send them through this program.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, well,
But as far as ongoing training, we've already had
Yes.
several other local partners reach out about mutual
Okay.
aid with training.
I mean, rough estimates from, and this is just with math based off numbers I can find, upkeep, feeding the dog, your annual vet bill, stuff like that. I would think $6,000 would be overestimating.
2,500 was the number that I got talking to the chief and
So
kind of
that's-
doing a rough number, but that's routine well care and then
Right.
the obvious food and maintenance upkeep things, so that's reasonable.
What if another department around here would like to use the dog? Would we charge them for that, or how would that work?
We have mutual aid agreements, so the answer is if he's on duty and available, we'll go help where we can. If we're committed to something else, the answer is we can't.
I mean, I know sometimes they get a percentage of the drug bust, the dog does. And that helps pay, opposite payments and stuff, or
That would still
With-
stand.
Yeah, with what we're doing, nothing changes as far as that goes. And it's no different than us participating in the drug task force and those types of things. So now we just have an additional, so what we've done without the dog is pretty impressive. And, kudos to our officers for what they're doing. They are shutting down major processes that are coming through our town or existing in our town. The dog will actually bring it to a new level. And Officer Stapleton, thank you so much for what you've done. You guys have made a huge impact, and people are talking about Mount Carmel and not going there for the criminal element, which is a good thing. That's the whole intent of what we want.
And the dog's asset, you won't believe the stops that we make knowing there's drugs in the vehicle. They tell us, no, have a good day. The drugs go to where they're going. I've got the dog it will stop the drugs that they'll stop.
Yeah.
Cause it's detected. So alert me if there's dope in the vehicle. And I have run across that numerous times with him.
You will be the dog handler then?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We can face see the name now.
And it's one of those things, I think it, I've looked over this quite a bit trying to find the negative in this. And with the grant covering the cost of the dog, which is typically your biggest expense, I would assume. And I'm looking through the grants, is there any stipulations with the grants? Or anything?
Just the training.
Just the training?
Just the training.
What about any type of longevity for the dog's entire service span at Mount Carmel, or is there any like time length requirements for the dog?
No, it's
Okay.
just the initial training.
Just the initial, okay.
requirement.
I think it would be a great asset for you all to have at the police department, and
Yeah, because we won't be going back to San Antonio, Texas for like up-to-date training and stuff. And Joe's already talked to Kingsport and been offered the opportunity to train with that.
Okay.
so it's just the initial
It's just the
car.
initial. That's
So I mean,
required.
even with that, that's a good investment for your return of what you would get with the dog, which should become its own kind of self-funded operation through the drug fund. Because without it, what would be a big expense that we'd spend the money out of the drug fund on?
Well, I'm actually going to class with Tyler, July 22nd to see what we can spend it on, but I've had the similar funds on the federal level, and if it's drug related, you can use the drug fund.
Right.
So.
That can only be used for that specific.
Yeah, you can't go just to use it as a slush fund. It's
Right.
gotta be drug related to use the funds in the drug fund. And right now, we have an adequate amount in it, and we have approximately 35,000 pending that we still have court hearings on.
And from my research, historical research, I don't know if there's been any activity coming out of the drug fund in 2 or 3 years. So it's underutilized.
I know they used to have a DARE program. I know they used to come up to the school there. Could we do something like that in Mount Carmel?
What's it, I'm sorry?
Used to have a program they used to go with the kids, or the police department did, and once a month, and kind of talk to the kids about stuff like that.
Yeah, we don't have anything in place. But
It's called the DARE program.
Oh, DARE.
It's a school program.
Oh, no, I know DARE.
Yeah. I mean, I know they used to have it, but
Yeah,
I know the kids really enjoyed it.
Yeah, we're not participating in it right now, or I don't know if they even have it at the school, or if they're doing it. We can always look into it if you think it's a good
Yeah, I didn't
idea.
know you can make your own program for Mount
Yeah,
Carmel
we
for the
can do it,
kids.
yeah.
And I can even go up to the school, I'd have to talk to the school, cause it obviously be their choice if I bring my dog into
Yeah.
school, but you know, like, I could have the kids come to the gym, and I can demonstrate what my dog can do with, you know, just to show the kids, like a show and tell. Bring my dog up, I can hide its training utensil, and tell my dog to find it.
Absolutely.
Cause I've seen that at me being a kid in school. I've watched it, and it's a big hit in school, so I would be willing to do that.
Absolutely. I think it's, we've got a great partnership working with the school, pretty much with every department, and I'd like to see that continuing to grow. So well, I think from as far as the board level goes, we just encourage anything that you all can do with the school to partner with them, whether it be fire, police, public works, we just encourage that.
Absolutely.
So with that being said, before we get too off discussion on this, let's go ahead and take a vote on this. Roll call, please.
Alderman Patrick,
Yes.
Alderman Cross.
Yes.
Alderman Schubert,
Yes.
Alderman Benstock.
Yes.
Alderman Gillum, Vice Mayor Bear,
Yes.
Mayor Gibson.
Yes. So that motion carries. So moving on to comments, just want to say appreciate everybody coming out tonight. Appreciate the great work that our staff's been doing. You look around town and stuff, things are changing, improving, and just appreciate the hard work that each one of you all do to make that happen. Look forward to starting this new budget year and kind of seeing what changes we're able to make and all the different projects we've got going, and I think it's going to be an exciting year. Vice Mayor?
I have nothing.
Alderman Patrick?
No.
Alderman Cross?
No.
Alderman Sugar?
Yes, so just to remind everybody, next Friday we do have our 4th of July celebration. We will kick off at 6:30 p.m. Jensen Lyers is our headliner. Benny Wilson and Quentin Horton are the opening band, and then fireworks will take place at 10 o'clock.
And what do you get with the kids
Yes.
stuff?
So, Fun for All, we'll have their bounce houses there. We'll have a mechanical bull as well, jelly ball. Oak Grove Baptist is going to allow overflow parking, And we will also have a shuttle from there to Main Street for those that need a hitch.
Absolutely. Anything else?
No.
Thank you. Alderman Gillum?
Nope.
Alderman Benstock?
Everything that, the mayor said.
City manager?
I don't have anything.
Assistant city manager?
Just want to remind you all of the employee lunch next Thursday, 12 o'clock at the park. It'd be great if you can make it and interact with the employees, and you know, if you see somebody you don't know, get to know them, because it's important to have community with our elected officials and our employees, and it's a good time for them to take a break and have something provided for them to kind of start off the new budget year with a positive thing. So.
Thank you all for organizing that. I think it's a good, it's something we've never done before at the beginning of the year or at the beginning of the budget year, and I think it's a nice gesture to do for the employees, and I'd encourage everybody to come out and if you're able to attend to that. Alan,
Nothing to add, Mayor.
so with that being said, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
A motion by Alderman Sugar, second by Alderman Benstock, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Go on.